Welcome into Steelers Talk. I'm your host, Jack Sperry. Today on the show, I'm going to be explaining to you guys why I believe the Pittsburgh Steelers defense in 2025 will be among the NFL's best this season. Before we get into why I think the Steelers defense will be elite this year, make sure you guys click that thumbs up icon if you haven't already. We greatly appreciate your support. Helps out the channel, tells the YouTube algorithm to push this video out to more Steelers fans like yourselves. So if you're looking for a free and easy way to help out the channel, go ahead and click that thumbs up icon to kick off today's show. Okay, so now let's get into the first reason why I think this team and this defense in particular will be elite this year, and it's that they were elite last year, at least before TJ Watt went down with that ankle injury in Week 15 versus the Philadelphia Eagles. This defense was absolutely fantastic. We can just take a look at some of the numbers pre-TJ Watt's injury, and I mean, they're ranking in the top 10 in every single category that you look at. Scoring defense, allowing less than 19 points a game. All right, the total defense also ranking in the top 10. Third down and red zone defense also ranking in the top 10. They were first in turnovers by a wide margin. They had 7 games where they had at least 3 turnovers forced in a game. All right, that is just an incredible ratio there. 7 games out of 15 games, you're turning your opponent over 3 times or more. And then the EPA per play allowed was also ranking in the top 10. So the team's record was 10-4. They were 4-0 against playoff teams. This was the main engine for victory for the Pittsburgh Steelers last year. And then, of course, TJ Watt goes down late in the season, and even though he plays on that injured ankle for the rest of the year, he is not the same player. And I think, it's fair to say here that if Watt doesn't go down and he doesn't get hurt, I think 2024 may have ended a little bit differently. Maybe the Steelers win the division. Maybe they don't, go 0 for their last 5 games if TJ Watt doesn't get injured, right? Like, you just never know. But, TJ Watt, with the impact that he was having on this defense last year, the fact that this team literally didn't win a football game after he went down, I think definitely shows his level of impact and that injury's impact on the 2024 season. Now, to be fair, TJ Watt's injury wasn't the only issue with the Steelers defense down the stretch. This secondary, especially with guys like Cam Sutton in the slot, the communication was absolutely god awful. They were, they were not making their assignments. They were not, they weren't doing a good job with their man match coverages. Essentially, is what was going on there. People were using bunches and dirty bunches and pre-snap motion to confuse the Steelers secondary last year, and people were not doing their jobs, which is why the second reason I think this defense will be a lot better this year, especially compared to what it was doing down the stretch, is the improved secondary. Okay, last year the secondary was really a big issue, especially down the stretch. There was people dealing with injuries. JPJ and Dante Jackson were both dealing with on and off injuries, and people were being put in there that didn't really know what they were doing. Cough, cough, Cam Sutton. But I think that the improved secondary all starts with the coaching. You get rid of Grady Brown, you bring in Gerald Alexander as the new DB coach, and he's absolutely fantastic, man. Like, the reviews from him is that he is absolutely preaching communication to make sure that the match issues that they had last year in this secondary do not happen again. I'm also still a believer in Joey Porter Jr. This guy was drafted 32nd overall 2 years ago for a reason. He is a very talented player, and we have seen him straight up lock down legit number 1 wide receivers before because of his ability to just shut down a guy in press coverage. The press jam coverage from Joey Porter Jr., you can make an argument it's some of the best in the National Football League because of his long arms and his physicality. Needs to do a better job of not getting too many penalties and holdings and DPIs and all these different things that plagued him towards the end of last season, but Gerald Alexander talks very, very glowingly about Joey Porter Jr., and when he is on, this Steelers defense is so much better for it. Also, I think that Darius Slay, Super Bowl champion last year, had a really good season with the Philadelphia Eagles, even though he's going into his final NFL campaign this year. He's already announced that. He is hopefully going to be that upgrade over Dante Jackson, because Jackson was really tough, especially in man coverage last year, but Darius Slay, I think, is going to fill that secondary corner type of role. very, very well, and he brings a championship pedigree, so hopefully he's more like a Joe Hayden type of signing here for the Steelers instead of a Patrick Peterson type of signing for the Steelers secondary. And then when it comes to second-year slot corner, Beanie Bishop Jr., I don't think he can be worse than what Cam Sutton was down the stretch for this team. In fact, I think that you could have made a really good argument that Beanie should have started down the stretch over Sutton because of how many mistakes Cam was making down the stretch last year. But Bishop had a lot of really big-time plays. He had a bunch of really key interceptions in last season's campaign. He picked off Aaron Rodgers twice in the game against the New York Jets, and he is a little bit of a liability both in run defense and in coverage because he is so tiny. But I do think he would be an upgrade versus what the Steelers had down the stretch last year with Cam Sutton in the nickel position. But I still think there's room for improvement in this spot, and I do think that is probably the last hole left in this Steelers defense from a roster perspective. They've been linked to Jalen Ramsey in trade talks in recent weeks. If they get him, I think that fills this final kind of hole, so to speak, in the Steelers defense. And then if they don't get Jalen Ramsey, I could see them reunite with Mike Hilton, who was a fantastic slot corner for the Pittsburgh Steelers in his 4 seasons here in Pittsburgh. He was one of the best blitzing slot corners in the league when he was here. He still is, and he is very physical and a good run defender, a couple of things that are very important to head coach Mike Tomlin. So keep your eye on these two guys, but overall, I do believe that this secondary is improved from where it was in 2024. So let me know down there in the comment section, what is your confidence level in the Steelers' secondary this year? Put it on a scale of 1 to 10 for me down there in the comment section. 1 being no confidence at all, they're going to absolutely suck, to 10 being they're going to be the best secondary in the league. I am so confident in them. This is going to be the pinned comment on today's show. In just a second here, I'm going to tell you about our sponsor today at Fanatics. And while I'm talking about Fanatics today, let me know your confidence level in the Steelers secondary from a scale of 1 to 10. And with that, let's have word from our sponsor today, which is Fanatics. You guys can go chatsports.com/PittUSA to get this American flag Steelers logo t-shirt at a great price from our friends at Fanatics. If you guys want to be representing the Stars and Stripes while also representing the black and gold at your 4th of July barbecue this year, this shirt is an excellent addition to your arsenal. It's also a good one to wear whenever you want to show off your patriotism and your fandom for the Pittsburgh Steelers. So go to chatsports.com/PittUSA. You use that link and you make a purchase. Fanatics sends us part of the proceeds as well. So not only are you getting a new t-shirt, but you're helping out the channel here. So if you want to get this t-shirt today, I put the link to that in the comments and description of today's show so you guys can check it out. Another reason why I'm very excited about the Steelers defense this year is an exciting inside linebacker core that has really started to shape here in Pittsburgh. And this position has been a problem in recent seasons for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Last year, it got a lot better with the addition of Patrick Queen. Now, Queen has said himself that if he didn't meet his standards for what he wants to be as a player. He's a former All-Pro, and he wanted to kind of play at that level for the Steelers. He didn't quite play at that level last year in the Steelers defense. It was a new scheme for him to learn. He says he feels a lot more comfortable this year, and he is that green dot. So he is the guy that's responsible for the communication, and he is actually responsible for some of the communication issues that the Steelers had on defense last year. But he is somebody that has really taken, getting this defense down to heart this offseason, and I'm really excited to see what he's going to do in his second season in black and gold. And then Peyton Wilson, the second-year linebacker out of NC State, looks like an absolute stud. There's a reason why this team allowed Landon Roberts to go to the Las Vegas Raiders in free agency, and that is because Peyton Wilson is really starting to show what he can do on the practice field. And, I love this kid coming out. He had a great rookie season as well in a rotational role. I think he's ready for that full-time starting role here with the Pittsburgh Steelers. And then I also really like the depth that you have at this position here with the Pittsburgh Steelers as well. You got Cole Holcomb coming back from injury. You got Malik Harrison coming in as well as a fantastic special teamer. And you still got Mark Robinson, who's a good depth piece and special teamer as well. So I think that this linebacker group is in the best position it's been in quite a few years here, and especially at the starting positions, and I think that they're going to be a fantastic linebacker duo this year. But the number one reason why I think that the Pittsburgh Steelers will have an elite defense this year is because I believe they have the best defensive line and pass rush in the National Football League heading into the 2025 season. I'm not the only one that thinks this. Pro Football Focus just ranked the Steelers as their number one defensive line in football over teams like the Philadelphia Eagles, Buffalo Bills, Detroit Lions, and more. And, when I get asked, and I get asked this a lot, it's like, okay, the Steelers don't have an elite quarterback, all right? So how can you expect to compete in the very, very competitive AFC if you don't have an elite quarterback on your roster? Because you're going to have to compete with the Patrick Mahomeses of the world, the Josh Allens of the world, the Lamar Jacksons of the world, and the Joe Burrows of the world. Those are like the top 4 quarterbacks in the league, and 2 of them are in your division, and all 4 of them are in your conference. So how can you compete and expect to compete for a Super Bowl when you don't have a quarterback of that caliber? I think the Steelers' answer to that question is to do what the Philadelphia Eagles did to Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs last year, and that's to not give them any room to breathe, all right? You build the best defensive line you possibly can, get quick pressure consistently on these quarterbacks so that they can't make an impact on the football game, and then hope that your offense is good enough to offset that and give yourself a chance to beat these teams, even though you don't have the same caliber of quarterback as some of these other teams in the AFC. And I absolutely believe that the Pittsburgh Steelers have the defensive line to get this done. All right, TJ Watt, when healthy, as we've discussed, I believe is the most impactful defensive player in the National Football League. Alex Highsmith is one of the best number 2 edge rushers in the league. You have Nick Herbig, who's not even listed on this graphic right now, is one of the best, if not the best, rotational edge rushers in the game. And then on the interior, not only do you have a first-team All-Pro caliber player in Cam Hayward and Keanu Benson, who's a stud as well, but you just added a first-round pick and super disruptive pass rusher in Derrick Harmon out of Oregon. And then I like the depth that they have on the interior this year as well. So I think that this defensive line is absolutely fantastic. It is the best in the world, and I think that it's going to give the Pittsburgh Steelers a chance, if they can stay healthy, to really be a competitive, not only defense this year, but be a competitive football team in a very competitive AFC conference. So I absolutely believe here, guys, that if the Steelers and this defensive line, specifically TJ Watt, if he can stay healthy, and he hasn't been able to stay healthy the last 3 years, so that's certainly something to keep your eye on, is TJ's got to stay healthy. But if he does, and if the rest of this defense can stay somewhat healthy as well, I believe that the Steelers are putting themselves in the position to have an elite defense. And then I think that the offense is doing some good things this offseason as well, and I think they're going to be a lot better than in previous years, and they're going to be able to not only just win one playoff game, but to go on a run in the NFL playoffs this year and take down teams potentially like the Kansas City Chiefs, like the Buffalo Bills, like the Cincinnati Bengals, like these teams that nobody thinks the Steelers can beat right now, because I believe the Philadelphia Eagles showed last year that a great defense can be the catalyst for a Super Bowl victory. I think the Steelers are hoping that that's the case for them this year. Now, obviously, the offense has to hold up their end of the bargain here. Aaron Rodgers, Caleb Johnson, Jalen Warren, DK Metcalf, this young and unproven Steelers offensive line, they can't be bad, all right? Like, this defense can be the best in the world, but if this defense is a below-average offense, like, they're not going to be beating the Chiefs. They're not going to be beating the Eagles. They're not going to be beating the Bills, all right? If they want to compete with those teams, not only does this defense and this pass rush need to really get the job done, but Aaron Rodgers, this offensive line, this run game, DK Metcalf and the other receivers, this team needs to be a lot better on the offensive side of the ball, but I don't think we're going to have any issues on the defensive side of the ball in the Steel City this year. So true or false? Let me know down there in the comment section. The Steelers will have a top 3 defense in the NFL this season. Type T if you think that statement is true, or type F if you think that statement is false. That'll be it for today's edition of Steelers Talk by Chat Sports. Thank you guys so much for stopping by today. We got more Steelers content coming your way as we prepare for Steelers training camp in late July. So if you never want to miss any of our content, click that subscribe button right now. Until next time, guys, here we go, Steelers.